Some people think that financial advice is about just one thing: returns, beating the market, picking the right investments, getting rich, but in a responsible, well-diversified sort of way. But that's not really the hard part. The hard part is knowing what you actually want your life to look like and whether your money can support it. It's also about having faith that you're making the right decisions even when the world can feel a little bit uncertain. So today, we're talking about the real value of financial advice and why it might have a lot less to do with money than you think. That's today on Money and a Good Life. My name's Stephanie Coombs and I'm here with my co-host, my mate, the money expert, the money man, Ryan Watson.
Hi Steph, how are you?
Not too bad,
Have
mate.
we graduated to mate?
I'd like to think so.
Oh, I would like to think so too.
But now you're questioning it, it makes me question it.
No, don't be like that.
Well, today we're joined by, I think, one of your mates.
It is one of my professional mates. That's why we got him on.
Excellent. Well, the wonderful Thabojan Rasiah, founder and principal advisor at Rasiah Private Wealth Management. Thabojan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Now, firstly, I think it's fair to say it's a complicated time at the moment. A lot of global uncertainty. How's it feeling at the moment for you?
I'm feeling good. Generally, life's good, but life's challenging in lots of different ways. But there are definitely some specific things that are being talked about a lot in the media and just generally with oil prices and cost of living and what's going on in the US and Iran and lots of different stuff, which is interesting because it's not as important as the things that are actually the challenges in life. So, yeah, I think it's it's a good question because it just got me to pause and go, what's actually the challenges going on? None of it's to do with what's happening around the world, really.
Yeah.
But we've been here before. I was having a conversation with a client yesterday and there was just this unease generally what's happening around the world. And they talked a little bit about, is this another crash? It feels like there's a crash coming. What's happening with share markets, the economy? Are we heading into a recession? Is it a global recession?
Yeah, I heard there's a few headlines at the moment, right, Thabojan, around the R word, recession, by the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, there's all, the headlines. You know, what a great time to write headlines.
Well,
if I was a journo,
Well, Thabojan, we've got a journo with us.
We're loving it. Yeah, I know it's true.
Yeah.
Bad news sells news, but
if just on that, so if you're a baby boomer and you hear recession, you're thinking early 90s. That's automatically where you would go in your
18%.
18%. Exactly right. It brings back all that fear and emotion, right? Hence the worry and concern.
Yeah, but 18% now would be, unfathomable with the cost of mortgages and whatnot.
Exactly.
Like that would just, I can't imagine.
No, but
that's
but that's the emotion. So the logic says, will it get all those things, but the emotion of this, and it's almost, and we're not obviously journo bashing or anything like that, but with all the headlines, and if you have time and you read the news, it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whereas I know we'll talk to it today, the role of an advisor, help people find their true north and then stay to that around what's really important to them.
Yeah, a bit of peace of mind too, which I think is what people are looking towards. I mean, for the people who are worried about a crash, right, and we hear words like crash, we hear words like recession, if you don't know what that means, that just sounds apocalyptic. But what actually is a crash and what does a crash mean for an average person in Australia? A lot? Not that much?
Well, I think to Ryan's point, it depends. So for a boomer who went through the 80s, what does a recession mean? What does a crash mean? It means 18% interest rates. For an 80 or 90-year-old, it means a Great Depression. For a boomer, it probably means my parents who taught me you never go into debt because of a recession and, you're cutting back and you're not spending, you're not doing anything. For a teenager or someone in their 20s, probably doesn't mean anything really. They haven't been through one yet.
The relevance of crypto and oil is probably there's not a lot, right? Yeah. There's not a lot.
Yeah. So I think it depends on what you have experienced, which is really interesting. That whole psychology of what I've been through in my life is extremely limited, but it's everything that I know. And so if I base my decisions on what I know, it's like I don't know what the word is, 1/trillionth of the different experiences that are possible. And so my feelings, they're all real and they're they're valid, but my feelings aren't going to determine, and my experience isn't going to determine that I have all the information and experience to figure out what to do and to how to navigate whatever is coming. And no one even knows what's coming.
And that is something to point out, that no one knows what's coming. And there is a recession or a crash can have different flavours depending on what's the current status of the world is.
Absolutely. And, if you're we're all focused on our own situation, right? So there's varying degrees of emotion that come like that. But the challenge with that is it lacks perspective too. Hence by having a professional advisor, they can help you stay in course, even define the course, but then give you a perspective about the longer term. I'm sure, Thabojan, you look at, 30, 40, 50-year investment cycle, times like these, and we haven't even hit anything at the moment, have we, Thabojan? But, when there is a crash in the market or there's a downturn, over the longer term, it's a smaller blip. So with greater amount of time is perspective, but what you can get that from an advisor because of their experience and what they see as well.
So is now the right time to panic, take all your money out of stocks and move to the country and live off the land?
What do you think, Steph?
I don't have stocks, so it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
No, well, actually, it depends on your situation. If you shouldn't be holding stocks in the first place, then maybe.
Yeah.
But if you've got a plan and a strategy in place, then the uncertain future should have already been considered in setting up your plan and your strategy. If you haven't got a plan and a strategy, then probably everything you're doing should be questioned because it hasn't been.
And this is the importance of the risk profile discussion, right, Thabojan? So in terms of if people are literally losing sleep at night with this and they don't know what their risk profile is, then it'd be going through that exercise with an advisor. If they've done it and they're still losing sleep, time to revisit, maybe dial down some of that risk as well, right?
I agree and I disagree, actually.
Okay.
So I think that risk profiling is important in terms of knowing ourselves and knowing our clients, but I've generally felt that how we feel shouldn't dictate the strategy.
Yeah.
Our goals and our values in terms of what's important to us in our lives should determine the strategy. And if those values are sound and if the goals are sound and if the strategy's sound, then the risk tolerance, which is a fear-based emotional thing, gets diminished, and we're able to navigate the natural fears that we might have because we're anchoring to something that's far more important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are some examples of things that you're anchoring to that might get rid of some of that fear-based profile?
Great question. So being able to look after people that I care about, right? If that is the most important thing to me, then I should never let something as it's important and it's valid, but as fickle as how I feel about what the headline says, stop me from being able to look after my kids. So if I anchor that correctly, then I must not do the thing that might impact that. And selling shares at the wrong time is doing the wrong thing if you've got a good, solid, long-term strategy. So if by anchoring back to those things, which is what we all, whenever we have conversations with the clients, whether it's what's happening with markets, whether it's I want to, buy a car or upgrade my house or retirement planning, they're all important decisions and choices that need to be made even before you get to execution around strategies and tax and investments. But the first thing we go, yep, they're all great things. Now, can we just confirm what are the things that are most important to you?
And so for the people listening to Thabojan, how does that work for you? Like, how do you guide your clients to understand what their values are and what's important to them? Because that's the real meat, right? That's the gold.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity for our profession that we miss. I've kind of accidentally learnt about it. I'm not that smart. It's just from reading lots of things and hearing from lot smarter and better people than I am. But by trying things, I came across this concept of values and purpose. And when you talk about it, it makes a bit of sense. But ultimately, the things that are most important to anyone, I'm convinced, is got nothing to do with the money. It's all to do with their values and their purpose in life. And a lot of advisors are very uncomfortable talking about that and going there. We've now been doing it with enough of our clients and enough people for enough years. It's still uncomfortable, but we've had enough proof that when we have conversations about values and purpose, they are far clearer on what's important to them. We're far clearer on what's important to them. And it makes the planning like so much easier and better and impactful. And I almost can't give advice now unless I'm having those conversations, because it's like, how should I invest? What strategy should I do? Even if like some would say, oh, well, if you've got the goal, you can figure it out. I'd almost say I've realised that often the goals that clients tell us are not the right goals because they haven't positioned the goals based on their values and what's actually important to them.
They're just giving you ideas on what they think they should want, but not actually thinking about what they genuinely want.
Yeah, well, I mean, they think they know what the goals are, but I might have a goal of I want to retire at 65 with $100,000, and that's a very classic thing, but that's what everyone thinks they should say when they go and talk to an advisor.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start saying things like, well, what do you mean? What is retirement? That's the first question that I ask. But then we sort of park there and we say, well, that's all great. Great goals. Let's just go a step deeper and talk about the values. Once you do that, then the goals have far more meaning. And then people are able to actually go, what are the goals that are going to help me achieve those values? Like living the life that I want to live, living my best life, some of the things that we talk about. Right?
Yeah. And could you, if you wouldn't mind, if we could delve a little bit more deeper into this, Thabojan, around, you said it's uncomfortable for the advisor as well, potentially. Tell me more about why you've chosen to do something in a profession that's more uncomfortable. There's bravery in that.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like to tell my kids, right, if something's easy, you're not learning anything from it, you're not actually moving forward. Something's got to be uncomfortable to actually be better. So if I'm playing the guitar and I'm playing something that's really easy, I'm not learning anything. Yeah. Whereas if I'm trying to play something that's more difficult, when I've learnt it, I had to go through that more difficulty to learn it, and now I'm a better player, right? So like anything in life, it's by being challenged, that's when you get to the best stuff. Yeah. And it is still uncomfortable. I still sit in client appointments where we're talking about values, and sometimes I'm like, I can tell that this isn't a comfortable conversation because we're talking about things that they're challenging for ourselves to look into our own hearts and think, what is the thing that's most important to me? The easy answer is, and in the absence of value, a pretty good goal is, let's try and get more money. It's probably going to help, right? And I think that is what most people do, right? If you've got more money, you can probably have more choice and all that sort of stuff. But there's an opportunity to go, what if more money isn't actually a better solution?
Or what you want.
Yeah, well, everyone thinks that's what they want, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a general societal thing. We think we want more money. But what if you challenge that and go, what if more money is worse? Like, how does that play out, right? Yeah. So let's use an example. I want a bigger house, so I get a mortgage, get a bigger mortgage, or I want more money, so I work harder. I've got this bigger mortgage, got to work harder, work really hard, do really well, get a promotion, all the things that I want, right? All the things that everyone says you should want: bigger house, more money, promotion, more status, more ego, all that sort of stuff. But in real life story, you get to 70 years old and you look back and you go, I don't have a relationship with my children anymore. We've had clients who have died prematurely because they've just worked themselves into the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was all this for?
Yeah, was I having fun? Did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
They're big questions, but they're existential questions that I think some people sort of struggle to reconcile with.
Yeah, and it's a classic example of they've achieved the goal that they wanted, lots of money. Yeah. They've made lots of money, which was the goal. So they did the thing that they thought they wanted, but the goal was the wrong goal, right? And that was the point, going back to that point. If you're not setting the right goals, then you may get to the end or look back and say, wrong goal, too late, right?
Yeah. That's it. And the sooner you actually have that conversation and work it out, the better. Because if you are working that out, deciding what you actually want from life in your 60s and your 70s, it's like better to do it sooner. It's never too late.
Never too late.
Never too late, but the sooner you actually work out what you want from life, the more you can actually enjoy your life right now. And that, I think, is sort of the point, right?
And what I'm hearing from Thabojan, and like what we do at Tribeca as well, people may come in, and obviously we never judge. It's more about the extrinsic. But when you start to more than scratch the surface, it's far more about the intrinsic. And I'm hearing things like time and happiness. We know, you exchange time for money, but people, if they're in their 60s or 70s, you ask them what they would give to have time back. The intrinsic motivators. And an advisor, and I'll say it to that chooses to give brave advice, go there, vulnerability. We know there's sad, mad, glad, scared, there's all sorts, particularly if you've got a partnered couple. But couldn't agree more. It's absolutely worth going there. And then when you see the clients, we're passionate about the good life, right? So it's exactly the same thing.
I think that also goes back to what we were saying earlier, where if you are feeling uncertain, it might just be because you don't have a plan. Whereas if you know where you're going, if you've got a basic sort of roadmap worked out, if there's a pothole, you can go around the pothole, but you still sort of know where you're going. Do you find that people who know what they want are able to weather global events a little bit better than others?
I mean, they must, right? If you know where you're going on holiday, you're probably going to do a better job of navigating the pothole or if you don't know where you're going, then so I think. Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. Another client I caught up with yesterday runs a business, single mum, really hard worker, runs a business, and the recent impact of global stuff is having a further impact. She's already been impacted by AI and all that sort of stuff because it's an online business, right? And she came onto the meeting and she was really, really down and really flat. And I was thinking, there's going to be, well, it was difficult. And we've been giving her extra support to get her through this period, which has probably been, 18 months or so. And she was saying, I'm not in a good place. Like, I don't know what to do. I might just have to sell the business or try to just get what I can out of it. And so we just paused and I said, look, let's try and navigate this. And I was actually thinking, I don't know what the path is going to be here. This could be really hard. Her fallback was go and get a job, which would also be a challenge being in her 50s and, the challenges that come with that. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but followed our process. So we went back to let's reconfirm what are the things that are most important to you. So we talked about having financial security, so having the home that she's got, being able to live in this environment that she can provide for her and her son. She doesn't have family support, so what if something goes wrong? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to look after myself? Among some other things as well. And we talked about her fears as well, so put it all out on the table. We then follow the next part of our process, which is go back to the strategy and have a look at what the future might look like given everything that's going on. And we sort of talked about, okay, she's planning to probably work for another 15 years. She likes working, blah, blah, blah. So sort of threw it out there. I go, what if you didn't earn $1 for the next 12 months? She's like, oh, okay. What if we put that into the strategy and then worked for 14 years after that? And it could be the business starts making money after 12 months or you end up going and getting a job after 12 months. But let's give you the next 12 months free pass, right? You don't have to earn $1. And we built the model and it wasn't perfect, but with some little compromises, she was actually going to be okay. So we showed her she was going to be okay.
And what did you see from her in her expressions and just the feeling in the room, Thabojan, when you helped her understand that freedom?
Yeah, so straight away, she was like, what? So you're saying I don't have to? And she's like, oh, now I know what to do. And she's like straight into.
So cortisol's gone down?
Oh, she was totally. Yeah, she just said, this is why I really need your help. Because when I come in here and sit down, I put aside all the things, I'm able to focus on what's important, and I always come out with clarity in terms of what I need to do and how I'm going to do it. But also putting things into perspective. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm so focused on right now, this, what's happening today, what's happening this week, what's happening this month. But you've just said, don't worry about the next 12 months and you're still going to be okay. And it just completely changed how she's feeling, which is important. But it's also by putting aside that, she said, I'm now able to just step away from this feeling that's holding me down and do what I need to do. I can take some action. I can do what I need to do. And I don't think it's going to be 12 months. I think it'll be 3 or 6 months because now I'm just, focus
on what it actually matters to get the business up and running without
exactly.
You never see your own life well, do you? It's kind of fun. Like in every aspect, I think a bit of coaching sort of helps.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the word coaching, right? The best analogy I like is if you're a sporting analogy, any type, we're in the play. So everything's going on around you. But a coach is sitting in the stands and can see everything with a greater perspective, has your best interests at heart, but isn't in it. Therefore, that's why they can give you that unbiased. And just going back to what Thabojan said, Steph, there, what I love and what I'm not surprised about is it was the human first. It was, and this might surprise people who are listening, I didn't hear a portfolio review report. I didn't hear a risk profile in that, get to that. But it was human first. What's going on there? Thabojan, I imagine, didn't leave a question unsaid, was happy to go to the person in the vulnerability piece. He also admitted, I'm not sure how this is actually going to work out. So there's some vulnerability in him in that. It went to who's the person, how are they feeling. Then he went to his financial expertise around the strategy and the financial advice. That's the order. Human first, then we're experts in financial advice.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny how if I wanted to go and enter a powerlifting competition, I'd go see a personal trainer and they'd put me on a schedule and I know exactly what to do, and that is a normal, just basic expectation. There are some things where trainers and external advice and someone to look into, how you're living your life are just of course it's just expected, but it's funny because it's still not necessarily the case in Australia with money.
Well, and I think if you went and saw Thabojan and he was a powerlifting trainer, he'd explore why you want to do it.
Yeah.
I think so. He's attaching that, and that's what you talked to earlier, right? It would really not just crediting why you do or you don't, but understanding more about, so attaching that motivation, because invariably life gets tough.
Yeah. Do you want to win the gold, or do you want to say you can do it?
Is the motivation going to drag you through the tough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about powerlifting, right? So powerlifting is like I could go and do it myself. There's YouTube videos. Yeah. There's celebrities that look really, buff and pretty, and
people on Instagram telling you what to do.
Follow what they do, right? Yeah. And so I could do it myself. So why would you even see a personal trainer, right? Well, number one, I'm probably not going to execute the powerlifting as well, but I could maybe do 60%, 70%. That's pretty good. But more importantly, which exercises do I need to do based on my situation, my body type, that's going to actually help me? Like if I go and look at you guys know me, I'm a small guy. If I follow what Chris Hemsworth does, it's probably not going to be the thing that's going to work for me, right?
One size fits all is not the case.
Yeah. And secondly, like you said, what are we trying to get out of it? You know? And if I want to actually compete and become an Olympian, well, there's a completely different approach to if I just want to not feel as fat and feel a bit better when I wake up in the morning and have a bit more energy so I can play with my kids.
Yeah.
And not get injured. Like completely different approach to what the training should be. So yes, I can do it myself, but I'm probably going to hurt myself. I'm probably not going to do it properly, and I'm definitely not going to achieve the thing that's very specifically I want to get out of this thing I call powerlifting.
And doing it yourself would rely largely probably more on motivation as opposed to working with an expert in anything would be structure and accountability.
Yeah, and I just feel as well like when you have a conversation with someone, that back and forth where someone examines your ideas and what you're thinking and why you want this or why you want that, that's actually – that's the thing. Like that's actually the thing because inside in your brain, you can't actually sort of unpick your thoughts all the time.
Well, if we relate that back to how we started today, not to embarrass, you're an expert at this, Steph. The first question you asked Thabojan, he thought personal first and then professional about the pod. But he said, I had to think about that. Yeah. Power of the question.
Yeah, no, you actually just need to spend some time, I think, talking to people. And I don't even think it's just for money and for exercise. I think in any sort of capacity in your life, when you're trying to work through a problem, you just need expert and outside opinions sometimes to get you through whatever you're working out because it's not always clear in your own head. Now, obviously, Thabojan, you've worked with hundreds of people now over your career. Is there something that you find keeps on popping up a problem that people always have or something that you're always trying to unpick with your clients?
There's so many, as you know, Ryan. Number one, most people have that default position of, I've just got to get more money and money's going to solve things, which again, it's not wrong, but you can go from 50% to 100% if you start putting the why behind it. We know Simon Sinek's think about why, blah, blah, blah. So, again, I definitely believe that more money isn't always better, because time, like you said, Ryan, so we think about time. We also think about energy, and the other one is attention. So you think about the world we're living in now, the intention world, social media, scrolling, attention, like pay attention, live in the moment, be present. So along with money, you add time, energy, and attention to that. We think of that as those four as the main resources we should be thinking about. And sometimes you got to give away a bit of money to have more time, or give away a bit of money to get more energy or attention. And so in that framework, more money definitely isn't always better, because sometimes you want more time, sometimes you want other things too.
Yeah.
So that's definitely part of it. In terms of one of the main things that I see, we do a lot of work with successful business owners, and when you're running a business, your business is kind of the focus. And I think what we see quite often is that people forget that their business is really, when you start with what is important in my life personally, your business is just an investment. It's just something that generates money. It might do other things. The business can have a purpose. It can deliver things. But ultimately, for your personal financial planning, the business is just an investment, right? So we see far too many people not extracting the value of their business and converting it into personal wealth, but also personal time, personal energy, personal attention, right? So how do you convert the success of a business into the things that are actually important to you? The other thing with business owners is they run the business to make money, but there's a missed opportunity in the way we approach our business is we start with, let's forget about the money and first define why we exist. What is our why as a business? And what are we trying to do in the world? What are our core beliefs? What are our values as a business? And then the rest can follow in terms of business success.
So to that point, Thabojan, what's your business's why?
So we exist to help people make smart decisions with their money so they can live according to their values and purpose. That's our core focus. We've got it written down. Everyone in the team knows it.
Yeah.
That's why we exist.
I like that that's nice and clear as well. Smart decisions, because that doesn't smart is a nice word where it's not make the highest yield decisions.
Or the right.
Which means
decisions. Everything else is wrong, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
What you said as well about attention, I think was really interesting, about where we put our attention, that attention is so split. That is a bit of a modern problem, isn't it? So much conflicting information, all of it coming from all corners. What do you listen to? What do you not listen to? Are you finding that come up with your clients a fair bit?
I find it come up personally, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A couple of kids and, busy life at home, and so hard. And it's not, it doesn't come naturally, right? We don't naturally focus on the areas that we should or that we want to. You know how some people say you will spend time on the thing that's most important to you? I think it's a load of rubbish.
Yeah, I don't know. I spend a lot of time on my phone.
Yeah.
That's not the most important thing to me, but my God, does it take a lot of time.
Yeah, and like there's, I don't know, like this concept of if it's important to you, you will do it. But I don't believe that's true. If it's easy and it's convenient and it's what I've always done, I'll probably do it.
Yes.
So I know I personally need time to pause and go, what is important to me? Why is it important? And we apply the same principles to clients. And that framing, it still doesn't mean that I do all the things I should do.
So if I could be so bold as to ask, what structure have you put into your personal life around that to remain present or to bring yourself back to where you are?
I can think of one. So the most obvious thing for me is having 3 days where I do drop off and pick up with the kids, or 2 days I do, 2 days my wife does, and the other day one of us will do.
Yeah.
And that wasn't easy, I love work. I still work too much. So, but I put that structure in place to make sure that I'm forced to spend time with the kids, not because I don't want to. So again, that's a classic example of I'd be in the office all the time because I love work and it just comes naturally. And sometimes I'm like, okay, on the way to do pickup, and I'll be like, I can't get my work done because I've got to do pickup, right?
Yeah.
So I even get that feeling when I'm executing it.
Yeah.
But when I do pick up and we're on the walk home or in the car and having the chat,
and you go,
then I get reminded this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so.
But if you didn't have that structure, it just wouldn't happen. It would be, you'd have intent, but you don't have the structure.
Yeah. There's some days that my wife says, you got so much on at work. I'll do it today, and I'm like, no, don't do that because it's breaking the structure and you're giving me an out. And me picking up the kids is more important than the work. The work will get done.
Yeah.
I will make sure it's done.
And they'll remember it too. The dad used to pick them up from
They might.
school. Oh, they will. Of course they will.
I
Depends
think
if he
so.
lets them go to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
How much sugar's involved.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, how many treats happen along the way. Well, Thabojan, for someone who's listening to this, they haven't worked with a financial advisor, they don't really know who to talk to or listen to. How do you find an advisor that you know is on your side?
Great question. I think we're not just talking about something superficial here. We're not talking about just setting up an investment portfolio or something like that. For some people, financial advice, that's what it is. But in this conversation, it's not. We're talking about people's money. We're talking about your money and your life. Like, it's so important. And so you have to find the right person or the right business or the right team to work with. And I'm not the right fit for everybody. Ryan, sorry, mate, you're not the right fit for everybody. So whoever it is, you need to find someone that is the right fit. That's the first point. We have a frameworks and structures for everything because I need that because it keeps me on track. The framework we use and what we tell what do we tell people when we first talk to them, we say, we've got 3 criteria that we think about that you should use to assess whether we're a good fit, and we will also use that to assess whether you're a good fit for us. And the first criteria is there a values alignment? 2 parts to that in the way we think about it. Do we like each other? Do we think we can build a relationship based on trust? We have to spend a long time earning that trust. But if you don't think you even like this person and you can do that, then that's the first thing. The second thing is, what do we believe? Do we believe in the same things? And we as a firm believe that there are things that are more important than money. We believe that money is a tool to help you achieve the life that you want to live. And so we tell our clients, you must also believe that. If you don't believe that and you just want to make as much money as possible, we're probably not going to be a good fit. And there's some other advisors that have got some fancy high return, high risk investments that'll promise, making you tons of money. That's not us. Our clients do very well financially, but we know that you've got to connect the money to something more important. All the things we've been talking about today. But that's one of the first things we talk to anyone that contacts the business, because that's got to resonate. And if it doesn't, then we're not going to be a good fit, and that's okay. The second criteria is how complex is someone's situation, and does the level of complexity match our level of expertise? Because you're generally going to pay more for more complex advice in any profession. Sometimes you pay more for less, but that's another story. But we want to make sure that if you're going to pay for our expertise, that you're going to get significant value from us that far exceeds the cost. And to get that value, there needs to be a certain amount of complexity. Now, complexity can be anything. It can be lots of money, lots of income, complex business. It could just be, I need help, I don't know what I'm doing. It could be, I'm unable to make money decisions with my partner or my spouse. We just can't. Right? Yeah. That's a massive complexity that is sometimes worth paying for. We've got clients that say, we're with you guys because the only time we agree on anything is when we're here. Yep. And you guys help us to get on the same page. True story.
True and common story.
Very common. Yeah. So we look for some level of complexity. We also look for affordability. So we do charge. We're professionals. We're not the cheapest. We don't want to be. We're not the most expensive. We don't want to be. We've got a cost philosophy that revolves around we'll only charge a fee when we can add significant value that exceeds the cost, right? And we never want anyone to be paying us a fee and going, I didn't get value out of that. So we will assess that and we will tell people, you know what, you shouldn't work with us because you can probably do it yourself, or you just need help with this little thing and maybe talk to this person for that help. You know, so we look for values alignment, the right level of complexity and the right level of affordability. And so I think for any consumer out there that's looking for an advisor, I think it's a pretty good framework to assess any advisor you're talking to. Do they align with your values? Do they work with people with your level of complexity?
Yeah.
And can you afford their costs? Does it make sense?
And I couldn't agree more, Thabojan. The other thing I'd add to that, Steph, as well, is when assessing, asking the client or the person listening, whose interests are they working for?
Yes.
An advisor, everything that Thabojan said, and the advisor should be working in the client's. Legally, we know we have the best interest, but it should just be, that's the values alignment, is the advisor working in the client's best interest first.
Thabojan, thank you so much for your time. If you got something out of this episode, and I hope you did, do make sure you follow Money in a Good Life wherever you're listening now so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Advice given in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to influence decisions about investing or financial products. Our listeners should always seek their own professional advice that considers their own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.